ENCOR Section 15 Summary Challenge. Wireless deployment options. In which two situations should you deploy autonomous APs? Okay, when the organization expects rapid expansion. Probably not. Small distributed branch offices. Probably yes. So autonomous APs are really good for very small offices with a very little number of clients. Large branch offices is not applicable. Small isolated warehouses could be as well. So then also hotspots requiring location services. No, actually the location services, they can only be provided by centralized wireless infrastructure. So these two options, they are pretty good. Which three of the following correctly describe the benefits of a centralized controller-based wireless solution? And we have three options to choose. Easier to deploy and manage than autonomous APs, since APs in centralized architecture function independently. This is not correct factually. APs in centralized architecture do not function independently. They function as part of a centralized infrastructure, and that they are not easier to deploy because of that. Better control over client parameters, authentication, QoS, VLAN, bandwidth. Probably yes, the centralized infrastructure would allow that. I think at least because all the functions, all the management and policy applications is done centrally, there is no situation when one access point requires one parameters and other access points hasn't been properly configured or has been configured a little bit differently. It requires different parameters. So overall, central infrastructure provides better centralized control over the client parameters. So what policies such as security, QoS, and so on to apply to clients. Better roaming capabilities. I think yes, because centralized infrastructure offers better roaming capabilities, what is called seamless routing. When client, which is physically moving from one area of coverage to another, just seamlessly switch to another access point without losing any connectivity, and without breaking the TCP or any other connections they might have. Easier scalability. Also a good option, I think, because when you have the central controller in place and you have multiple access points, you can add more access points and provision them relatively simply, without going through too much hassle of configuring and all the parameters in each individual access point. Less risk of traffic bottlenecks. Well, probably there is no less risk for traffic bottlenecks. It may be the same level of risk of traffic bottlenecks in the centralized infrastructure, or maybe possibly slightly higher risk, because local traffic in the wireless LAN controller scenarios, local traffic which goes between clients, even sitting on the same access point, should go to the wireless LAN controller first and then go back to the same access point and then delivered back to the receiver. So I think these three options are fine. Which three statements correctly describe the benefits of Cisco Flex Connect? Okay, let's see. Cisco Flex Connect, by the way, it's it provides more flexibility. So remote sites may not necessarily have an own WLC installed. They can rely on the central WLC, and then CAP web tunnel is established between access points in the remote site to the WLC in the central location. And there are multiple different options which flexibly can be set up in such infrastructure. So let's see, Cisco Flex Connect is a wireless solution for branch office and remote office deployments, and that sounds good. Yes, this is correct. Cisco Flex Connect access point cannot perform local authentication. In a certain configuration, it can. It can authenticate clients locally without being in touch, without being connected to the central wireless controller at this time. If a Flex Connect access point should lose its CAP web connection to its controller, locally switched WLANs that remains operational. I'm just trying to read this properly. If a Flex Connect AP should lose its CAP web connection to its controller, locally switched wireless networks that remains operational. This probably is worded imperfectly, but that seems correct. So some VLANs or the VLANs can be set up as locally switched, and then basically the access points in place in the branch can switch traffic between them without needing to be in touch with the central controller. Cisco Flex Connect APs are capable of supporting the local switched and central switched. That sounds correct as well. And the final option is the CAP web control messages are never exchanged between the Flex Connect AP and the controller. Of course, this is not correct. Precisely what the APs do with controller, they exchange messages to control, right? And that's part of CAP web. Okay, that looks good. In which cloud service model the applications managed by the provider? Okay, applications is the topmost layer in the cloud infrastructure, right? If applications are provided to users, users basically just access applications and they just work with the specific applications. They have no idea about any infrastructure underlying in this model, right? So, and this will be called SAS, Software as a Service, or SaaS. Which deployment option does the Cisco 9800 Cloud Wireless Controller for which deployment option does the Cisco 9800 Cloud Wireless Controller for a private cloud support? Which deployment? Okay, so private cloud is when you have your cloud on premises, right? And deployment option for these, I think there are multiple, right? Centralized, Flex Connect, and SDXS, or all of them combined. Not that much certain about this, but I think it's both. It has to be both. Yeah. Okay. I think not even both, but I meant all three, right? It can be centralized. Yes, I see no problem with that. It can support Flex Connect for remote locations. Yes, no problem. And then SDXS, it's programmable. It is based on iOS XE, model-driven programmability. All this stuff is available there as well. So I'll go with this option. Which statement correctly describes the Cisco Meraki Cloud Managed Solution? Okay, it uses data flows to the cloud controller. I'm not sure what that actually means, but let's see others. Supports a layer 3 roaming only? No, it definitely supports layer 2 roaming locally. Highly customizable? No, it is not that customizable. It is more offered as a out-of-the-box product, or rather service, when you just use what's there, right, without heavy customization. Can manage any model Cisco AP. This is not correct either. So Cisco Meraki Cloud Managed only supports Meraki access points. So we are left with this option, I guess. Let's read it again. User data flows to the cloud controller. And this is not a correct option. User data in Meraki Cloud stays outside of the controller. So only management data in Meraki Cloud is flowing to the controller. So this is not correct. And I guess this will be the correct option then, just by exclusion. Supports layer 3 roaming only. I'm not really sure whether it supports layer 3 or a layer 2 as well. But yeah, I will have to go with this option. Let's see the results. And the last question, what are the licensing costs for Cisco Mobility Express? So as far as I recall, there is no licensing cost at all, right? So I guess, I've never done that, but I guess if you have the access points, which support the Cisco Mobility Express, you can dedicate one of them, or maybe even more than one, for failover, and you will need to update this access point with the wireless controller enabled image, and then this access point serves as a master, and it actually kind of has a WLC running inside it, right? And other access points are subordinates, and they just coordinate using this WLC. Okay, and as far as I recall, there is no any licensing costs involved in that.